Good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's December 10th, 2025 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. I'm Bill Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and I hereby call this meeting to order. I appreciate seeing so many people here tonight. Thank you so much. I would ask that if you're physically able to rise, to please do so. If not, rise in spirit. We'll start with a pledge to the flag. I'll ask Councilmember Wilt to lead us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. In just a few minutes, we'll begin the open forum portion of our meeting. Of course, the open forum is that portion of the meeting where members of the public can share their comments with the town board. We had some technical difficulties that held us back a minute or two, but YouTube is now up and running, and we're live streaming. So if you are watching us on YouTube and you want to participate either during the open forum portion of the meeting or during the public hearings, there are instructions for doing so, but you'll have to log into Teams to do that. Those instructions are on the town's webpage, new address. I was about to give the old one, brightonny.gov. The state required all municipalities with a population of 1,500 or greater to switch to .gov domain addresses by December 15th. Of course, for those of you that have been watching us for a long time, we have been townofbrighton.org since the internet began. Townofbrighton.gov was somewhere else. Brighton, there are 36 Brightons in the United States, so we didn't get first dibs on them, but we are now brightonny.gov. As we have done for many, many years now, our town board meetings are accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community, thanks to our ASL interpreters who sign at all of our meetings. Tonight, our interpreters are Sarah Kadar and Mike Fisher. Thank you both. As a reminder, tonight's agenda and all of the supporting materials that we're relying on in taking the actions we may do tonight, if you're here, they're all out on the table outside the door. If you're watching us remotely, they are available on the Town of Brighton webpage, brightonny.gov. It's going to take me a while to get used to saying that. But first, we do have one proclamation tonight, and it's a proclamation that I gave out earlier, about a week ago, for International Human Rights Week, but we have a number of representatives of that organization, so we wanted to do it again right here at home. And I'll invite Sister Beth and anybody that's here with her that would like to join her as we observe International Human Rights Week. We are currently in the midst of International Human Rights Week, although here in Rochester, we have had events starting on December 5th, and they will run through this Sunday, the 14th. So we're actually celebrating for more than a week, and that's a good thing, because International Human Rights Week and International Human Rights Day, which is today, are really important observances today now more than ever, with all of the things that are going on in the world. The week started last Friday. I joined Mayor Malik Evans County Executive Adam Bello for a ceremony at Rochester City Hall, at which I presented the proclamation that I will read here in a moment. There are a couple more events coming up that I want to let everybody know about. This Friday night from 7 to 9 p.m., there is a holiday concert and sock drive, warm sock drive, at the entertainment facility up on Stutson Street, 75 Stutson Street. That will benefit the Women's and Children's Center of the Open Door Mission. And then on Sunday, from 3 to 5, there will be a human rights conference that is being held at the Islamic Center, practically right across the street here on Westfall Road, the Islamic Center of Rochester. Now, for that event, registration is required, and
I think they got changed.
did it?
It's no longer required.
Oh, good, okay,
Everybody's welcome.
perfect,
No
perfect.
cider.
So, again, that will be from 3 to 5 Sunday at the Islamic Center of Rochester, right here in Brighton. Again, donations are gratefully accepted, cash or gift cards, or again, warm socks, please. Right, the food link, the cash or gift cards go to food link, yes, exactly. So here's the proclamation that I read last Friday, and I will read and present tonight. Whereas the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was proclaimed by the United Nations General Assembly on December 10th, 1948, and is celebrated annually on December 10th, today, as International Human Rights Day. And whereas this groundbreaking declaration enshrined a common standard for fundamental human rights and set forth milestones for all peoples and nations to achieve. Whereas the theme of this year's International Human Rights Week campaign is, quote, our everyday essentials, reminding us that human rights affect us daily and that the core values of freedom and justice and a belief in the dignity and worth of every single person cannot be taken for granted, but instead must be acknowledged, practiced, and if necessary, fought for. And whereas in this time of great domestic upheaval and wars abroad, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights must continue to be the standard by which we measure our progress towards creating a better world post-World War II. And whereas diversity, equity, and inclusion are critical tenets of forward-thinking policies and practices that help map pathways to fully realized human rights, and the values they reflect are purposefully cultivated in the town of Brighton. Whereas we are grateful for the work of the Greater Rochester community of churches, Faith in Action Network, who, along with the City of Rochester and County of Monroe, have organized and promoted the numerous events happening across the county during International Human Rights Week. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, on behalf of all the members of the Brighton Town Board, do hereby recognize International Human Rights Week in the town of Brighton, acknowledge that human rights are nonpartisan, and urge everyone to actively support human rights for all. And this proclamation is signed this 10th day of December 2025. Sister Beth, it's a privilege to present it to you and to the entire organization. Thank you all so much. And can we get maybe we can get over here, get a group, get the whole group. Sister, come on over here. And come on, slide around. Come on in close. Come on. Here.
And Bill actually need to step back a little bit so
Okay.
There we go. All right. And on the end there, if you could just scooch in a little bit more with the yellow shirt. Thank you. Got it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And again, those upcoming events, this coming Friday night, 7 to 9 at 75 Stutson Street, and Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Islamic Center of Rochester. Okay, we will now begin the open forum, which is held at the beginning of every town board meeting. The open forum is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item on our agenda tonight. Although I would encourage, if any of you are here for either of the two public hearings on the incentive zoning application of GCI Eastwater for their proposed battery energy storage system, or for the removal and replacement of the tree at 425 French Road, I would encourage you to wait until those public hearings are called so your remarks can be included in the record. Once I finish these instructions, if you're here in the room and would like to speak during the open forum, please raise your hand. When I call on you, please come up to the podium to speak. If you're participating in the meeting remotely and would like to speak during the open forum, again, you must join the Teams live stream of the meeting. Again, use the raise hand function on Teams, and we will unmute you and call on you after everyone here in the room has had a chance to speak. I will ask all speakers during the open forum, whether in person or remotely, to please state your name and address before speaking. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I will give you a 30-second warning before your time expires. We may not be able to answer the questions you ask, particularly if your question relates to a matter that's not on the agenda this evening. But our goal here tonight and during the open forum held at every town board meeting is to give you, the public, the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen thoughtfully to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please avoid personal attacks and outbursts of any kind, including applause, boos, or the like, during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers and out of respect for the time of everybody that's here tonight. Also, out of respect for people here in the room, we do not allow signs to be displayed during the town board meetings, including during the open forum. People who do not follow these rules will be warned. Repeated failure to follow these rules or failure to follow other directions from the chair may result in your speaking privileges being ended, being directed to leave the meeting early, or the early termination of the open forum altogether. So with that, let's begin the open forum. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board during the open forum? Come on up to the podium.
Well, I actually had not planned to do this, so this is going to be very short, but here I am, and I thought, oh, I guess I can do this, so I will. No questions, just a quick statement. It's actually an appreciation and a thank you. We have a board member who is about to retire from her position on the board, and so this is a thank you to Robin Wilt and all the work she has done in her two terms? Yes, and Robin has been invaluable to the town, and I'm very sad that she's no longer going to be on the board. And when we talk about things such as Human Rights Week, Robin is the person on this board that probably represents that the best. The work that Robin has done as a member of the board, as a member of our community, is the epitome of human rights workers. And so, Robin, I thank you for that. Also, DEI, it's because of Robin that DEI is as strong as it is in Brighton. So I'm going to miss you on the board. I do hope that the current board will take into consideration that this is a diverse town, not just physically, but in terms of opinions And so there are some people in this town who believe differently than I think everybody on this board in terms of what's going on with Palestinian rights. I know Robin is somebody who probably differs from the rest of you, and so I'm going to miss her voice. And basically, that's all I have to say, except let's all move forward and make sure that this world, our world, is safe for everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you'd like, I don't know if those remarks were written in any way, but if you'd like to provide them. Is there anyone else that would like to speak during the open forum? Hearing none, then can I have, Chris, a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Bill, I move to approve the agenda.
Second?
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. As I mentioned before, we do have two public hearings tonight. The first one is, is there anyone here for the tree public hearing? Okay, then we'll keep them in this order. This is a public hearing regarding the application of GCI Eastwater LLC for incentive zoning approval to construct a proposed battery energy storage system in the vicinity of Mortimer Street. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this matter?
Yes, Supervisor. A notice was published in the December 2nd edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Legal notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. It's my understanding the developer would like to make a presentation as part of your submission to the public hearing. And we'll hear that presentation, and then we'll take comments from members of the public. But I want to say a few things first, just so everybody understands, in very rough terms, the process for incentive zoning applications in general and where the status of this particular application is. I also want to let everybody know the town board will not be taking action on this matter tonight. I will ask that the public hearing be tabled and kept open to a future meeting. But procedurally, let me describe where we are under the town code. The town board first had an opportunity to hear and consider this project earlier this fall. The town board in Brighton has 4 committees. One of those committees is our Public Works Committee, and projects of this kind typically go before the Public Works Committee before they go to the full town board. And in fact, that is what happened here. The applicant presented an outline of their proposal to the Public Works Committee. Then it was put on the agenda for the town board back, I believe, in October. Under our incentive zoning law, which is Chapter 209 of the Town Code, and that chapter implements state law provisions relating to the use of incentive zoning in New York State. But under Chapter 209, the first step, formal step, in the review of an incentive zoning project is a presentation to the town board, which again did happen back in October. The town board's responsibility is to decide whether the project is worthy of further review. And if so, it refers the matter to the planning board. And in fact, the town board did make that finding. It made the finding that this project is worthy of further review, and it referred it to the planning board. So at the November meeting of the planning board, that board took the responsibility, again, as required under the code, to review sketch plans for the project, the amenities and incentives that are proposed, and if they find all of that material to be consistent with the town code, specifically with Chapter 209 of the town code, they refer the project back to the town board to set a public hearing. And that is what happened here, and this is the public hearing that is taking that next step. The goal here, incentive zoning is a process that is reviewed by the town board, but the town board felt in the development of its local law that implements incentive zoning that it was important to have the planning board involved from their land use and site planning expertise. So it really is a bit of a back and forth to make sure that both boards have the opportunity to review it. So again, we are beginning that public hearing tonight. I will again note that it will not be making a decision tonight. So I will invite the developer to the podium to make your presentation.
Sorry. I don't use microphones often. Apologies. I'm Mitch Bauer, the president and founder of GCI. Thanks, Bill, for having us today. Thanks, everybody, for having us here again. I'll just give you a brief history on GCI, and then we can get into the project. We are a developer of standalone energy storage projects. That's all that we do. We've been in this business, me personally, since about 2013. In 2010, I decided to dedicate my career to improving the environment. Went to the Yale School of Environmental Science and concluded that energy storage is really the most important and critical thing to advancing a transition to renewable energy. That's how we got in the storage business. We've been doing it for 10 years. Fast forward from 2013 to 2023. That's when we actually started this project and had our first meeting with the planning staff. It wasn't fully baked enough to bring it forward to your procedure. It's been a lot of back and forth to get us to where we are today. As Bill said, the most recent action we had was the planning board meeting, which resulted in us coming back for this public forum today. And I'll introduce my colleague Dan, who will lead the presentation.
Thanks, Mitch. I'd just like to thank the board again for listening to our comments and for reviewing our application materials and for the process that you've been through thus far. So I think that Mark has handed out to you our most recent submission. This was provided in response to the written comments that we received from planning staff. There was also a written submission to the town in response to one of the comments from the public that was forwarded to us. Finally, there was an additional submission that I realized probably is not in front of you because I submitted it to Anthony Vallone. There was a slide deck with some pictures and things that I thought we might be able to have on the projector tonight, but we'll just go on without that. So I'd just like to briefly go through the comments that we received from the planning board and from planning staff, and then explain why we think, and I understand that the board has made a decision that it will not take action on the incentive zoning tonight, but I think that this is the right opportunity for the board to make a determination of significance under the State Environmental Quality Review Act, which is supposed to be made at the earliest practical point in the decision-making process. So we can go through that as well. And then finally, I'd like to talk about that ultimate decision that we're going to ask you to make on the incentive zoning and why it should be to approve the incentive zoning as the planning board recommended. To start with, the planning board or planning staff has provided you, I think you must have it in front of you, with a short summary of the outcome of our planning board meeting. We essentially gave the same presentation, or very similar presentation to the planning board that you all have heard before, excuse me, on November 24th. The response from the planning board was overwhelmingly positive. Mr. Vallone states that the planning board supports the proposed application, that the project appears to be well-suited to the project site and area, and that the project also furthers the town's comprehensive plan. Those are conclusions that we would agree with as well. The planning board also has 4 conditions or additional comments that go along with its recommendation of approval. The first one, and this is a decision for the town board to make, is regarding screening on the site. The project will have some HVAC equipment that will make some noise. We've done some studies that show that at the property line, the sound from our HVAC equipment will not be above the ambient noise that already exists. But in addition to the sound, the town board should consider whether any screening is necessary for a visual barrier. As part of our environmental assessment form, we submitted a visual impact statement. The visual impact statement provides a number of pictures from different areas around the site, most importantly from the neighboring Lehigh Valley Trail, and shows what the project will look like when it's built from those areas. We have some, you can faintly see some of the battery storage enclosures, but I think that what's most important about that visual impact assessment is the existing conditions that are shown. The existing conditions are that there are 2 very large existing transmission lines that are visible both from our property, from the neighboring property, and from the adjacent trail system. There's also a very large existing National Grid substation that's visible from those vantage points as well. And so while our visual impact assessment shows that the project will be mostly screened by the existing vegetation on the site, and that our battery storage containers are not particularly visually obtrusive anyways, they're about 12 feet tall. Even to the extent you can see them from the trail, that is in keeping with the existing character of the trail, which already has very large transmission lines, very tall transmission lines, and a large substation. It's also worth noting that the Lehigh Valley Trail was built on a railroad right-of-way, an existing railroad right-of-way, and like most other railroad right-of-ways in the state, it is adjacent to other utility right-of-ways. And so you build a trail on a former railroad, you expect to see other utilities and including critical grid equipment next to that trail. And so our proposed project is in keeping with that existing character.
Mr. Brennan, would you rather questions during your presentation, or would you rather wait until after?
Absolutely. I would always prefer to have a conversation.
Me too.
So please interrupt.
Then let me, because one of the comments made early on in the process was that your visual images did not show, while they do show the various utility infrastructure elements that are currently in place, it did not show the planned substation that would be constructed on a portion of the site. Do you now have images showing that substation?
So one of the things that was submitted to Mr. Vallone was it's not a rendering of the substation that would be built at this site. The substation has not been designed yet. It will be designed, owned, and operated by the public utility according to their specifications. And that hasn't been determined yet, given where we are in the state's interconnection process. So we don't know exactly what the substation is going to look like, which is why we didn't include renderings of it in our visual impact statement. What we've provided and unfortunately I don't have in front of me here, is a picture of a similar substation. And it's really not that much different than the substation that's already there, except that it's significantly smaller. So the package that was provided to Mr. Vallone has a picture of a very similar substation. It's not the exact one that will be at the site, but we can't actually render the one that will be at the site because we don't know exactly what it will look like.
Okay.
And just to note, that that substation will be designed and owned by National Grid. It's not the scale of the other substations where distribution lines are coming out. It's simply where our project will attach to the transmission line above it.
Okay.
And so, you know, as part of the seeker process, I think, given the pictures that we have of the existing substation, the pictures that we've provided, and obviously you'll have a chance to review of a similar substation, you have the information that you need to determine whether the project is likely to have significant negative visual impacts. And the answer to that question is no, because the area is already characterized by critical grid infrastructure, including a substation that is similar, except much bigger to the one that is being proposed. And as an alternative, if you believe that you don't have the information that you need to make that decision, the seeker does not strictly prohibit what we call segmentation, which is basically to say reviewing and considering the environmental impacts of sort of subsequent phases of a project down the road when those phases are not available, when the information is not in front of you and can't be. Here, we can't possibly get you that information because it hasn't been designed yet, because the public utility hasn't done the work that it needs to do in the interconnection process to make a decision. So while I believe that you have the information in front of you now to make a seeker determination, if you disagree on the issue of the substation rendering, I would suggest that you could segment that portion of the seeker review, and that the visual impacts could be reviewed at a time when the substation is actually being proposed for the site, and when you have an application from the public utility to build the substation, and you take an action on that.
Okay. Thank you.
So I'll just move back then to the comments that were made by the planning board. So the first one was a decision, I think, for this board to make, or the planning board was suggesting that this board may want to make, is to decide whether or not screening should be provided for both sound and visual impacts. It's our position that that's not necessary. As you can see from the visual impact assessment, there is already some existing foliage that will provide screening, and the battery storage enclosures are low profile, and the substation is in keeping with the existing character. But if you deem that it's appropriate to include screening, we would ask that be taken up, that you give planning board direction on what you'd like to see, and that the specifics be taken up as part of the site plan review process. Worth noting now that this project will require site plan review. This is obviously not the last step of this development. We're still very much in almost the beginning of the development process for this project. And so we will need to go through a full site plan review with the planning board before any of the subsequent ministerial permits from the town of Brighton are approved. The second comment that we have here is regarding the areas around the battery enclosures. Our site plan shows the one board that I did bring with me of our site plan here. You'll see is the areas around the battery enclosures are shown in green. That probably was not a great decision on the part of our civil engineers, but it's not planned to be grass. It's planned to be gravel. I believe that may be a requirement under the building code that we put gravel there and not grass for safety reasons. But what the planning board is suggesting is that you just require that it be a pervious surface.
Can you indicate specifically on the drawing where you mean?
So there was some confusion at the planning board level, basically asking us, is this green area going to be grass?
Yeah.
And it looks like it should be. Actually, it's even labeled grass. It's incorrect. This concept plan is incorrect. The areas in between these orange battery enclosures, or what's the representations of them in orange, is not going to be grass, but it will be a pervious surface, gravel, so that it won't cause any stormwater runoff issues. And so we could make that part of the incentive zoning approval, that the areas surrounding the enclosures should be pervious so that it doesn't cause stormwater problems. The planning board asked for clarification on the height of the proposed fence. So we've requested 2 incentives in our application. One is the use, that battery energy storage be allowed on this parcel. And 2 is that we build a security fence, which is not currently allowed under the Brighton Town Code. So what we're proposing is an 8-foot fence topped with barbed wire. I think there was some discrepancy in our plans. One indication that it was going to be 6 feet, another that was 8. So we're clarifying tonight that it would be 8 feet.
Including the barbed wire.
Including the barbed wire, correct. And then the final, this isn't really a comment, the final comment that was written down is that the planning board is generally supportive of the amenities that we've proposed in exchange for those incentives. And we've been through the amenities before. Be happy to talk about them more tonight. So that was our response from the planning board, which I think is overwhelmingly positive, and I think that every comment that they've included or that they made, we can respond to and comply with.
And I think just to clarify, is to point number 4, when you read again, chapter 209, the planning board's role is to determine the amenities as they relate to land use related issues. They're really not weighing in on the financial amenities, and as you had indicated at a previous meeting, and I believe tonight, I anticipate we will have some further discussion about the scope of the financial amenities that are proposed.
Absolutely. And that's a great point. It brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, although I don't know if we need to get into too much detail. We also submitted our response to the planning staff's written comments. I don't know if that may be a bit too much detail for this meeting, and so I'd be happy to leave it up to you whether you want me to go through this or not.
You certainly don't have to. You have it with you, and we can submit that into the record. There were some important questions, particularly related to seeker, in that comment letter.
Sure.
So, yeah, we'll, if there are particular points you want to make, and I know you did want to address the letter from Alice Hooper, but if there are also points you wanted to, particularly make in response to the planning staff comments, you can make them. Otherwise, we'll just take them into the record.
Sure. Well, I think I'll just give you just a brief overview then. One of the requests is that we quantify the value of the amenities. So in addition to the cash amenities, we've proposed certain non-cash amenities. For example, that the project will improve grid reliability and resilience. To the best of our ability, we have quantified what that is worth. I'm not quite sure how accurate it is, but we've done that, and we've done that for each of the non-cash amenities that were proposed. We've also included, there was a mistake on our initial submission. We intended to include a wetlands and habitat memo that was prepared for us by our engineers at Labella Associates. That has been included in this supplemental package. We already talked about the National Grid substation, so I won't get into that again. We made some revisions to the environmental assessment form based on comments from staff. I don't think any of them are particularly important at this time. But I think it's worth noting that one of the comments from planning staff is that this action should be classified as a type 1 action rather than an unlisted action. GCI's position is that it's an unlisted action, but of course it's the town board's decision to classify it, to classify this action, and we don't object to classifying it as a type 1 action. I think either way, we've provided all of the information that you need to make a decision whether it's type 1 or unlisted. We have the full long form environmental assessment form. We have the EAF supplement that was prepared by our civil engineers. We provided some additional sort of slides that are not here tonight that you can use to sort of clarify what we think the most important environmental issues are. We've provided that habitat and wetlands memo. We've provided our wetlands delineation, and we've provided, I think there was one other document that I wanted to reference. I guess that's it. So I think that you have all of the information in front of you that you need to make a seeker decision and to comply with the statute. I think that about sums up the issues that we wanted to touch on, and I'm obviously happy to answer any questions or to discuss seeker. If not, we can move on to the comment and our response to the comment from a member of the public.
I think my inclination on seeker, given that we're receiving some information tonight, and I know we differ, although I find the town attorney has made I think a pretty compelling argument as to his determination on seeker. What I'd like to do, particularly since we're not taking action tonight, and since there is quite a bit of additional information to process, I don't think tonight is as you said, the earliest possible opportunity. I think we need to be able to process the material so that I believe probably, this is something we can certainly take up at our next town board meeting. I don't know whether we will continue the public hearing after that meeting or not, but I'm sure, or at least I think it's very likely, we'll be able to make at least the seeker determination at that time, whether we're acting on the substance of the project or not. That would be our December 30th meeting, which is going to be at noon, and I'm a little leery of making this kind of a decision at a meeting that is at a different time in the middle of the holidays, but I'm less concerned about seeker. And John, did you want to?
I'll just add that the only caveat is obviously there's been a supplemental submission made by the applicant. I want to make sure that all staff has reviewed that information, that they're satisfied that it meets all the requirements of the information that they have requested, and then provided that there is no additional information, obviously all of that would be subject to town board review and approval.
Right. So with that, let's move forward to your response to the letter dated April 8th from Alice Hooper, which, like this other material, will be entering into the record tonight.
I can start on that one if you can finish it. So the letter was related to fire safety, so I think we'll just speak fire safety in general, and then happy to take questions on it. The letter pointed to the Moss Landing fire, which is the world's largest battery project and the world's largest battery fire, which obviously brings up legitimate concerns. Nobody wants a fire in their community or a fire of that scale. The Moss Landing fire in California is not the only fire. There's been a couple in New York. And as a result of that, Hochul put together a task force in 2023. It included NYSERDA, the DEC, Homeland Security, fire departments, et cetera. Out of that task force, they looked at every fire that had happened in New York, what had caused it. They visited all the 57 facilities like this operating in New York. They visited each of those, and they came up with a set of recommendations that have been codified into New York's building codes, which are the most rigorous of any state in the U.S.
Are you referring to the code that will be taking effect on January 1st?
Yes.
Okay.
And that code de facto applies to this project anyway,
Yes.
because NYSERDA requires it.
Yes.
I won't go through everything with that code, just a few major things. The biggest thing that it caused is separation. So the Moss Landing facility would never have been permitted or allowed in New York to begin with, because essentially what they did is they took an old power plant and they put 3,000 megawatt hours of battery cells on computer server towers and filled a power plant. Thus, it was one container with 3,000 megawatt hours. At that time, the idea was if there was ever a fire, there'd be a fire suppressant, and that would put it out, and that's going to solve everything, and nothing ever goes wrong. But that's not reality, and that's why the separation is so important. So under the new code, the product we're proposing with Tesla Megapacks, each Megapack has under 4 megawatt hours of energy. So that project had 3,000 in one container. Here, there'll be under 4 in each container. The NFP testing that's been required as part of New York State and required for these containers to be licensed guarantees that a fire won't spread from one container to another. The way that it does that is it takes one container and it sets it on fire and makes sure it doesn't set another one on fire while they're taking measurements, et cetera. So the separation is the biggest piece. It kind of reminds me of fireworks on the 4th of July in Canandaigua. There was a year where something went wrong and every firework on the barge went off at the same exact time. What we've done here, to go to that analogy, is to move each unit to a separate barge. It's completely different. If you look at the energy density of that Moss Landing facility, it'd be 7.5 times the size of ours, or over 30 acres, all in one building, where we have our containers spread across the 4 acres. A couple of the other major changes out of that code were fire training, mandatory fire department access, operational requirements for the fire departments, and training to be provided to those fire departments, as well as backup support. And in the backdrop of this, safety incidents have fallen dramatically. There's a database in the US of every battery fire. EPRI maintains it. It's been down 97% since 2018. The Moss Landing facility, having come online in 2018, would have been designed in 2016. So the New York State Code has instituted a number of changes that would prevent each of the reasons that caused those previous fires. None of those fires would have happened had they met the requirements of today. And then just to specifically talk about the Moss Landing fire, that used lithium NMC chemistry. That's a higher energy density, higher temperature, much higher fire risk, which is why those metals were in there, nickel, manganese, and cobalt. Our project uses LFP, which is lithium and iron. About 90% of the weight of that metal is iron, which is not a toxic metal. It's naturally in our environment, iron. And the NMC is the technology that's in your cell phones. The LFP, which our project is significantly safer, significantly less energy dense, and significantly less likely to set on fire. Typically, we have support from our fire experts, but we didn't have them with us today, but I'm happy to take any questions. Let me know if I missed anything.
No, you've covered it. I think the one thing I'd add is some context, since this is the town board. The Moss Landing incident, I think, is a great example of government working. There was a major disaster in California, and there was a root cause analysis done to find out what caused the problem. The state of New York assembled a large interagency group. We have people, experts from all different areas, studying what should be done about this problem, studying the root cause analysis, and deciding in New York, how are we going to prevent this from happening again? That interagency group came up with a bunch of conclusions, and we are now promising to follow them today. I think that's important to remember, because that is how government is supposed to work, is to assemble experts to make decisions at a higher level, and then you don't need to make those decisions yourself. No one on this board is an expert in fire safety. I mean, Mitch and I are not either. But the interagency group made the determination after looking at this fire that we should comply with NFPA 855, that is the highest standard for battery storage safety, and that all municipalities in New York should require compliance with that to avoid the same outcome as Moss Landing. And just briefly, on the paper that was submitted to the town in the scientific reports, I think it's worth noting that this paper is not about whether or not we should permit battery energy storage. This paper is about the improvements in methodology for studying the impacts of a battery storage fire, looking at the products of combustion and deciding whether or not a battery fire has caused environmental damage. How do we do that? And this paper, I'm no scientist, but explains that there have been advancements in those methodologies and how we can measure whether there's been environmental damage done, and therefore how we can mitigate it or fix it. We applaud the research that's being done, and this is exactly what would happen if, God forbid, there were a fire at our site, which we don't believe there will be. But if there were, we would study the impacts of the fire, study the combustible materials that were left behind, and then mitigate them, which is exactly what they did here. And finally, I'd like to make the point that this is a paper about emissions. Our project will not have any emissions. You have to look at this project in the greater context. It is going to replace gas-fired power plants. Our gas-fired power plants emit toxic chemicals and carbon every day that are poisoning our environment. This project is going to reduce that carbon emission and that environmental contamination. That's why we're building this project, and that's why this board should approve the incentive zoning request.
I believe at a previous presentation, you spoke about temperature sensing capabilities that would be built into this project under the current standards. Can you describe those and how the impact that they would have in a potential fire situation?
One of the recommendations of the interagency working group was that any BESS built in New York include a battery management system. The battery management system is monitoring all of the cells within the BESS, and I believe this system would have somewhere around 4,000 to 6,000 separate battery cells, right? A lot of them are separated, as Mitch talked about earlier, but the system has thousands of separate battery cells. They kind of look like little D batteries. I've seen them myself. I've made them at RIT's Battery Development Center. Those individual cells are tested for temperature and voltage at all times. And so the computer can see if one of those little battery cells is starting to get too hot, and it can cool that cell down. It can cool it down using sort of a active or traditional coolant, like in your car, ethylene glycol. It sends the coolant to that individual cell. But it also can discharge the energy from the cells that surround it so that you don't have this cascading effect where one cell gets too hot and it heats up the cell next to it, and it cascades. That's what we call the propagation of thermal runaway propagation. It discharges the cells that are around the ones that are having problems so that there's no energy left to cause this thermal runaway. That is a system that will be implemented in this project, and it's required by NFPA 855 and by the interagency working group. It's very similar to the system you have on your phone, which is why, while sometimes it gets hot, it's probably never caught on fire in your pocket because it can shut down the cells that are overheating, and it's monitoring them at all times.
Thank you. Are there questions from other board members?
Is power required to fuel the monitor system?
That's a good question. It's self-monitor, it's self-powered from the containers.
Seems an obvious question, or obvious answer, that you're storing power, and that's what then supplies the power to the monitoring system.
Yes, and there'll be two sources of power. The main source coming in at high voltage, stepping down into the batteries, that's the primary source for all of the monitoring system. There'll also be a normal distribution interconnection, similar voltage to a house.
So if the distribution system went down in a power outage, blackout.
Yeah, that's where this would shine. So everything would still be powered from the batteries themselves, from the main interconnect. The only way that it couldn't power those systems is if there was absolutely no energy in the batteries, and then there'd be no energy to worry about burning. And as far as the communications, there's at least 3 layers of communication back to, in our case, we're permitting a Tesla product. There's multiple layers of communication back so that if the fiber optic internet went out or if the microwave internet went out, there's 3 redundancies back to Tesla, and then there's a local logic of the BMS where if some sort of EMF attack or something and every type of electric communication is gone, it will still know how to run itself safely.
Thank you.
The large-scale fire testing that's been done on these battery containers, which is again required by NFPA 855. It's done to a standard called UL 9540A. That's where they set the containers on fire from the outside. When they do that, they shut down the battery management system. That's part of the testing that's required to be UL 9540A certified, is that you've turned off the active safety features to see what happens. And even in that worst case scenario, I'm not sure that it's a plausible worst case scenario, even in that worst case scenario, the testing shows that the fire does not propagate between containers because of this separation.
Mr. Brennan, your communication dated December 10th references an issue that we brought up, I think particularly through our attorney to the town. Point 6, you state the proposed Gentai line will not cross or otherwise impact the Lehigh Valley Trail. That issue, of course, relates to any possible issues relating to alienation of parkland, which creates additional legal standards and processes that must be met. You specifically referenced the Gentai line. Will any elements of this project cross or impact the Lehigh Valley Trail, either above or at surface or below grade?
No, we wouldn't have the legal right to do that because we don't have any easements over the Lehigh Valley Trail. Our site plan, it's actually kind of hard to see because it's very lightly drawn, but shows that the Gentai line crosses an adjacent property boundary to National Grid's transmission easement there, or transmission property. So we don't cross, impact the Lehigh Valley Trail at all.
And just a point of clarification on the park land, I think it's clear, but just to be totally clear, that the parcel today is private, it is not open
Right.
or park.
Right.
Yep.
We will
It's
dedicate
adjacent,
the
there are-
remainder that can be joined to the park of what we don't use, but right now, it's not part of the park.
Right.
So were you just referencing the conservation easement land
Yeah.
you're discussing? So you're suggesting that that land could be attached to the park, despite the fact that we only have a conservation easement over that land? All right, well, okay. That's,
We're open to negotiation with the town. Our proposal now is that we have a conservation easement over essentially everything you see here that's not in color.
Yep.
And so the details of that obviously would need to be worked out with the town attorney and with the town, but it's an otherwise expansion of the Lynchwoods Nature Park.
I was just going to say, because not only are we in close proximity to the Lehigh Valley Trail, but at that end, we're also adjacent to to Lynch Woods, our undeveloped park in that area.
Correct.
What's the size of that entire parcel? And then what's the size of the actual development itself?
So we're showing 18.87 acres for the entire parcel, and the disturbed area, the one in color, is 4.3 acres.
Which includes the proposed substation area.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. And so, at risk of embarrassing myself with my math, that would give us over 14 acres of new conservation easement land, forever wildlife in the town of Brighton.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the idea that there are no habitats on the property. As you said, it kind of abuts the Lynchwoods area, and so what do you exactly mean by that, there are no habitats?
So looking at the analysis that was done by Labella, they essentially found that the vast majority of, let's see if they call out a portion. Let's just say a large portion of the plants that are on the parcel are not, they're invasive species, non-native species. This is not commenting at all on the Lynchwood Nature Park. They've done no assessment of that. I'm sure there's more over there. But our engineers, our experts have characterized it as essentially a low-quality environment that does not support any habitats for any protected or endangered species.
That's what I was going to ask. Are you referring specifically to
Yes.
endangered or protected?
Yes, yes. In fact, my understanding is that as of at least 1968, based on some satellite images, we were able to find that this whole parcel was clear as of 1968. And so this is by no means virgin forest or anything like that. But again, what we would be ensuring if this project is approved, that the 14 acres that's not in color would remain. Yeah, the Labella says that it's approximately 80% invasive species, non-native invasive species. In any event, that would be allowed to remain in its current state and to continue forever wild. Whereas if the project is not approved, it can be developed in theory.
I know you guys have done this in past meetings, but could you just take a minute to talk about just big picture battery storage? I mean, it's great we have so many members of the public tonight who may be hearing about what a BEST project is for the first time. And if you could also talk about the timing of your NYSERDA application. I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mitch, every time we see you, it's because you flew up here from North Carolina, right? So I want to ask about, first off, grateful that you're doing this, but also want to ask you about the timing of the application and what that means for us at the town level.
Thank you. Yeah, and I actually just moved to North Carolina before our meetings heated up. Most of my life has been spent here, starting at Rochester General. But to pull it back to the battery storage in the big picture, what we're developing is a battery storage power plant. The reason we call it a power plant is when the utility needs to push power onto the grid, they can call on our battery storage power plant. There are only 3 types of power plants: nuclear, thermal, and batteries. There's also geothermal, but we don't have that resource here. So if we want to grow our grid at all, or be less of a net importer, we're in what NISO calls Zone B. They chop the grid up into functional zones. Rochester, Genesee area is Zone B. We consume less power than we generate. We do have the nuke plant, but we still consume less than we generate. So that means we import power. So it's our opinion that we need more power plants so that we have more power, so that more houses can be built, so that the economy can grow, and so that we can import less. The tools that you can use for that are nuclear, which 30 years to develop, gas turbines, 10 or 15 years to get and develop now, but also not good for the environment and not what New York wants, or battery storage. So that's why we're doing it. And even more so, the reason we think it's critical is it allows more solar and wind. You can go through the history of New York. You can see that there's been applications for solar and wind projects west of Rochester that connect to the lines that come into Mortimer. And they can't handle the energy, so they're too expensive, so those projects don't get built. By having more batteries, you can allow more wind or solar to be built, and it grows the grid and the related jobs. To tie that to NYSERDA, the state has determined that there'll be 6 gigawatts of energy storage in New York. That's what's needed as of now to meet the energy goals and the resilience of the grid. So NYSERDA will be contracting 6 gigawatts of energy storage throughout the state. That's 6,000 megawatts. Our project is 100 megawatts. It would be a small portion of that. They're doing that in 3 large batches. One of them is happening right now. We've been working to offer the project to NYSERDA over the past few months. They have a major piece of their bid is due tomorrow. And then a final piece is due in January, and then they'll make their selections. And projects they pick will get built, and the rest will go away.
What's the date in January?
January 29th is the final.
I want to open up, this is a public hearing, and I want to open up, is there anyone here in the audience that would like to address the board on this public hearing on the incentive zoning proposal? Please, come on up to the podium, and please do state your name and address for the record.
My name is Madeline Schmidt, and I'm from the West Brighton neighborhood where this is proposed to be built. What I'm hearing this evening is a significant forward movement from what we heard in West Brighton when we were presented this for information. And I'm wondering how you will update the West Brighton neighborhood on these developments and whether the documents that the planning board and others have seen will be available to the West Brighton neighborhood.
Thanks. Yes, I'll go in reverse order. Yes, we will be, the materials presented tonight, the responses to the letters, and the letter from Alice Hooper will all be included in the record of the public hearing. We will make sure that they are available, viewable on our webpage, so that folks in West Brighton we'll be able to see them. We were, of course, we were at our annual West Brighton Community Forum, and GCI made a presentation that night. And you're right, they have action, the action has been taken by the planning board and that very preliminary action by the town board since that time. So it has moved forward, and we will make sure that the materials, because they are part of the official record, will be made available. And we can talk with you about how best to make sure that residents, all residents in West Brighton get access to that. Of course, yes.
I have a couple of other questions because I'm comparing what I'm hearing tonight with what we heard then. One was that we heard that this was the first project in New York State, but I'm hearing there are 57 others of these in New York State. Are those messages incompatible, or is this the first of this new generation to happen in New York State?
I'll let the applicant.
Yeah, apologies. I would say the messages are in a sense incompatible. It wasn't accurate that it's the first. It's the first in our region, but there's 57 operating in New York now. They're not the same exact technology, and they don't meet the current codes, and many of them were not UL listed. But in terms of a utility scale battery plant, there's 57 of them operating in New York.
Another question I had was, this is confusing to me. This shows one image, but there were 4 mentioned. So are there going to be 4 of these on the property, or is this all 4?
No, this is everything. He might have been referring to images, the renderings from 4 different viewpoints.
And those are remote package sites.
But this is the full front.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Mike Farrell. I'm also a resident of Brighton, near where this is going to be built. And I'm a neighbor of Alice Hooper's, and I'll report back to her what we're hearing here. But I want to be clear about something. What you've said about separate units sitting by themselves, not in one building, is an article in the New York Times on Monday reported exactly that same strategy for reducing the possibility of fires, and they say it works. So, but what I'm not clear about, again, is what we're looking at. Are each of the colored units there batteries?
Containers.
So how many would there be?
So the way it shows here is there's 66. They're actually, you could call it 134 because they're back to back. But you'll see 66 standalone blocks that are separated far enough that they would meet the state standard.
In the Times article, they said that these were essentially the size of shipping containers, and they sit outside by themselves.
Yes, but
And if you can make sure you're close enough to the mic so our viewing audience can.
that's true. They're slightly smaller than shipping containers now in length, but yeah, very comparable.
Okay. Thank you.
So it's a little hard to see that. So there are 64 of those yellowish, orangish, and each one of those is a storage container that has many of the batteries that are themselves in containers.
Yeah, but you would never be able to enter those or access it or see the batteries that are in it. Part of the code changes is that you can't enter the facility. But yeah, 64 containers of 2 Tesla Megapacks, and then within those, battery cells. And we can include, and I think we have, but we can make sure to include a lot of the safety materials from Tesla that show these designs.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience with questions? And again, we will be keeping this public hearing open. So whether or not you have questions tonight, you'll be able to ask questions at a future meeting. Any board questions tonight? Hearing none, I'm going to ask for a motion. Well, I think I can just direct that these items be included in the record. This December 10th response letter, the response to, the Alice Hooper letter of December 8th and your response to that. Do we have that here? Is there a written response to?
It was provided by email. I just
Okay.
don't have a copy
All
of
right.
it.
I was going to say, I know you had sent one. We will incorporate that in the record. And the slides, since we really haven't seen those, maybe we'll incorporate them in the record at the next meeting. Maddie, did you have a?
I just wanted to, since this was an email exchange, will that exchange be included somehow available to us, or do we need to ask Al?
It was a direct response that I believe was sent to Alice Hooper as well as to the town. So we can, that will be one of the documents that will be up on the webpage as part of the record of this hearing.
Thank you.
And I think that will cover the materials that weren't already in the record that will, that I'll direct, be included in the record tonight in addition to the verbal testimony. Can I then have a motion to table this matter?
I move that we table the matter of the application of GCI Eastwater LLC for incentive zoning approval to construct a proposed battery energy storage system until the December 30th meeting.
Do we want to
of the Brighton Town
specifically,
Board.
I mean, we certainly can state a date. John, I did not, but
Well, if we
it's
are
certainly
planning
my
on-
expectation that we would reopen the hearing that day.
Yeah, I would-
And take the seeker action, although the
Sure.
seeker action is technically separate from.
Yeah, I think historically, the board would typically adjourn it to the
To a date
to the
certain.
date certain.
All right.
It's usually the next meeting, and
Yep.
and if we're not prepared to take action, we can always not
Continue
lift
it again.
Yeah,
One
we
more
wouldn't
time.
lift it off the
Yep.
table and
Yep.
So-
or remove it
Right.
from the table. Excuse me.
And we have a
December 30th
motion
then,
to table until December 30th from Councilmember
noon.
Corrado at noon,
Second.
seconded by Chris Werner. I don't believe motions to table are subject to discussion, so Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman.
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer.
Aye. Thank you for coming in. Thank you to the residents who spoke tonight. We appreciate the input, and we will continue this matter on December 30th. The next matter is a public hearing on the removal and replacement of a 52-inch silver maple located adjacent to 425 French Road. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been provided in this matter?
Yes, supervisor notice was provided on December 1st.
Thank you. Notice having been given in this matter, I hereby declare the public hearing on the removal and replacement of this tree to be open. You have information in your packet. You have our arborist's report in detail. Concerning the tree, you will note that it is given a hazard rating of 12. I did call the hearing open, did I not?
Yes.
Okay, good. And that arborist report will be included in the record of this public hearing. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to address the board on this public hearing? Hearing none, is there anyone on the board that would like to address this matter while the public hearing is open? I would again note it's given a hazard rating of 12. You see the description: extremely declining and compromised tree, numerous cavities in the trunk of the tree, most of the heartwood missing due to decay and rot, fungus, top-heavy, unbalanced, overhead lines, all of those elements, and you have the picture of a number of images of the tree. If there are no comments for the public hearing, then I declare this public hearing to be closed. Councilmember Corrado, can I have a motion, please?
Yes. In the matter of the removal and replacement of a 52-inch silver maple at 425 French Road, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second?
Discussion. Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Chris? Motion to receive and file the communication.
Bill, I move that we receive and file the communications.
Second?
We have one letter. It's the kind we always like to see, a communication from Linda Case on North Landing Road with a shout-out thanking Melanie Natalie, who recently became assistant assessor. So congratulations, Melanie, on that promotion, but also on the good work that you provided. Any further discussion on the communications? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Committee reports, community services. Robin?
Thank you. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening timeframe since our last town board meeting, but I do have some updates to share from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Parks Department, park crews have been keeping up with snow and ice removal, as well as prepping to move recreation and park items into storage at the Brookside facility to accommodate upcoming Brookside renovations. The Veterans Luncheon held on Friday, December 5th was a huge success. The event was relocated to the Winter Farmers Market barn this year, and everyone enjoyed the new space. We had well over 100 veterans in attendance. Special thanks, as always, to former Parks attendant Rich Wagner for efforts to bring this wonderful community event to fruition. Then from our Recreation Department, the Recreation Department is pleased to announce its Winter-Spring 2025 through 2026 program registration dates. For residents, that date will open on Tuesday, January 6, 2026 at 9 a.m. And for non-residents, the opening date for registration will be Tuesday, January 13th at 9 a.m. Other than that, the department is preparing for the move that I mentioned earlier and wrapping up year-end activities. We'd also like to remind the community that the Brighton Farmers Market has returned to the Winter Farmers Market barn at 1435 Westfall Road on Sundays at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. No early birds, please. And that will be the case through Sunday, April 19th. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be next Wednesday, December 17th at 10 a.m. or immediately following our Finance and Administrative Services Committee meeting at the Brighton Recreation Center multipurpose room. Please do access the Recreation Department through the Winton Road entrance. As always, members of the public are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thank you, Robin. Finance, Nate.
Thanks, Bill. The Finance and Administrative Services Committee last met on December 3rd at 8:30 a.m. Among the topics, I'll give the highlights here. we renewed our Civic Plus Rec module, and I bring that up to talk about all the great programs that Councilmember Wilt also always brings up at these meetings. And shout out to our town attorney over there and Earl and Becky for being the hammer and negotiating a good rate for us. So thank you to you guys. We also discussed change orders for town hall renovations. And finally, we switched our contract over to Brighton Collision, which brings that contract that we have with the town to a Brighton business, and it gets us the best price available. Our next meeting is December 17th, right here at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you, Nate. Chris, Public Safety.
Bill, Public Safety met yesterday. Several of the services were unable to attend, but we did get a report from the Brighton Police Department that they participated on the 6th of December with the Lights On for Life motorcade in accordance with the National Impaired Driving Prevention Month. And they remembered and honored the lives lost due to impaired driving. The Good Night Lights at the U of R, they participated in the 10th and the 17th of, the 10th of December, which will be tonight, and also upcoming on the 17th. Is that right, Chief?
Yes, sir.
Also, they will participate on the 16th for food delivery, partnering with TOPS, Brighton Food Cover, and the Summit Federal Credit Union. Calls for service were total year-to-date through the end of November, 40,195 calls to the department. Henrietta Fire also reported on their 92 calls in the West Brighton area that they responded to, and year-to-date 958, but no calls of significance. Also, we note that the Country Club of Rochester fireworks application has been submitted as they do each year for the, I believe that's New Year's Eve, is that correct?
Yes.
Next meeting will be the 13th of January, and the public is invited at 0800 hour.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Christine. You mentioned the Henrietta Fire Department, which obviously serves West Brighton and would serve the area that is the subject of the battery energy storage system. And as noted, the building code, state building code requirements as they relate to storage systems do require training for the fire departments. We are going to ask that not only the Henrietta Fire Department, which is the primary service provider, but also the Brighton Fire Department, since they, are, of course, are adjacent and do a lot of mutual aid, and our other first responders. We want to make sure the police, our ambulance providers are also familiar with the protocols for handling these battery energy storage systems. So those will be additional amenities going above and beyond what the building code requires. Thank you for that report. Christine, Public Works.
Public Works met yesterday morning after the very brief and concise public safety meeting. We were brief and concise for Public Works, so we had our arms around the agenda. Some highlights from yesterday's meeting. In the updates on the refuse district, staff are working out, ironing out details on the front door service households and ensuring that Waste Management is providing that service to the households that have applied for it and have the need. The Waste Management will have a new or an improved self-service website available for district residents, and detail about that will be in Waste Management's annual communication that should go out this week, so watch your mailboxes. It'll be mixed in amongst all the holiday cards. It'll be one of the most exciting things you get this holiday season. In the meantime, staff are working on at least 14 more annexations to the refuse district upcoming for 2027. So the timeline is long, but it is worth it. And to help folks understand whether or not they are in the refuse district, say new residents moving in, double checking, they can either call the office, number being
well,
Leslie's number now.
yeah, I can.
You don't have it memorized
I
yet.
can only give you Chad's.
We won't.
7845224, sorry, Chad.
But Chad will also be putting, linking to the refuse district map on the refuse service information, so you can double check to see if your property falls within or outside of the district if you're a newcomer to Brighton.
So, Councilmember, Leslie's number is 784-5226.
5226. Sear that in our brains.
Leslie is the better one at this point to call on administrative details.
Yes. Thank you. Crosswalk, good news in crosswalk installations. If you live on Edgewood Avenue or near Edgewood Avenue and Wintergreen Way, you've probably seen that the RRFBs are in place on Edgewood, so walkers can connect from the end where the sidewalk ends. Anybody read Shel
Yes.
Silverstein poems?
Yes.
To the rest of the sidewalk that will get you to where you're going. Please use those lights when you get to that crossing. The paint for the crosswalk will go in when the snow is no longer here.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting. Yep. The paint is in on Clover Street at Esplanade, and now the RRFBs are in there as well. So we have a safer route to school for kids coming from the east side of Clover and heading to Council Rock.
And one of the things we talked about at the meeting, the committee meeting, is that as we get more and more RRFBs, more and more drivers are aware of them, more and more drivers are complying with them, and they really are a valuable tool for
Yeah.
pedestrians.
Yeah, it's a culture change, it's a practice change.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep. And pedestrians and bicyclists still need to be on the lookout, but it is a tremendous help in visibility. State DOT project updates. Monroe Avenue, the one that we're all most excited about. We have not yet gotten a response from the town's submission on with feedback on the plan as presented, but there will be an open forum for the public that the state DOT will host, aiming for January 20th or 22nd. Has that been locked in yet?
I was hoping we were going to hear back from them confirming that date. We've said our preferred date is Tuesday, January 20th. Just as soon as we have confirmation on that, we'll blast it out, because that is obviously
Excellent.
something
And it will take
very
place
broad.
here.
It'll take place here.
And we are asking the state DOT to also give information about the Monroe Avenue, the bridge projects over Monroe Avenue, because they are integral to the execution of the corridor improvements. We also had questions about the Browncroft Boulevard project. We didn't have information as of yesterday, but we received it today. And Mr. Hafner, do you have anything to add to that? Other than that we have the detailed engineering information.
Yeah, other than they're going to widen it a little bit and add some shoulders, the landscape is going to look very similar to what it is right now.
Great, thank you. And that work will happen in the next construction season,
Correct.
2026.
Correct.
And anticipated completion by fall.
And reflecting that widened right-of-way, we do have an action
Yes.
on tonight's agenda for a very, very small increase in that.
And that actually contributes to pedestrian safety improvements. So we have asked the state DOT to give us the layperson's big picture to see what the final plans are. County DOT projects, South Clinton Avenue from Westfall Road to the city line, and Crittenden Road between West Henrietta and East Henrietta. We've gotten feedback from the county on that, and I am beyond ecstatic to announce that the county is in favor of giving us, honest to goodness, real bike lanes on both of those segments of roadway through our town. So that means wide enough for a bicycle and wide enough to have the bicycle lane symbol in there and all the appropriate signage, because those are important corridors that connect people who don't necessarily want to get into a car. We'll have more on that as those projects come closer. Town project updates, streetlight repairs. The beloved and historic poles in 12 Corners have been put upright. They've got the harp lamps on them, and there was some discussion about being able to make repairs to other of the historic lights in future. I think we might have some opportunity for sources to make those poles available going forward. And residents had some questions about lighting in Bel Air, and that is now on the list for seeing about converting the not lovely lamps into lovely lamps. So, Homeacres Monument Walls rehabilitation, there's been a pre-document meeting with Barrow, and the easements are being finalized so that work can begin. And we're also grateful for the work of the attorney to the town and Commissioner Havener on the integrated part where Homeacres just nudges into the city side of things. And it looks like the bid will be out in mid-January, and they'll be opened in February to get that work going. Did I miss anything there?
Nope.
Nope. All right, great. And Town Hall, we had a good, concise update there. The most important the most relevant as the weather gets colder is that we will not be using the geothermal to heat the building while work is underway, but we are pressing ahead to have geothermal all hooked in and ready to go, so we are eligible for the funding that will make that less expensive to the town and feasible for us to.
One of the things I don't think we did talk about in the update, but I think it's very relevant and it goes along with the whole sustainability. We have now, I think, finalized the design of the array of solar panels that will be going on the facility. There are some issues. Some of the areas of the roof are simply can't support the weight of panels and snow. There are issues with the fall zone from a level down to another, and you have to keep it back from the edge or incur just remarkably expensive costs for protective measures. But working within those limitations, I think we have as robust a solar panel design as possible. So the solar panels will be another sustainable part of that project.
So we're continuing to maximize the potential for environmentally wise construction choices. And we're going to have a spectacular facility when it's done. A few other things hit the discussion, but those were the highlights. Minutes will be available by the time of our next meeting, which will be January 13th, 2026 at 9 a.m. right here.
Thank you, Christine. New business, reading and approval of claims. Nate?
You got it, Bill. So earlier today, I reviewed claims totaling $4,098,130.58. Notable claims include, I'll just give you the two biggest were payments for the New York State retirement system and payments for the New York State Police and Fire retirement system. Those payments were more than $1.4 million and $1.5 million each. Claims appear to be in order, and I move for them to be approved.
Second?
Discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin?
Certainly, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an amended agreement with Civic Plus for a recreation management module for the town website in an amount not to exceed $8,959.49. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
And this is one we've discussed a couple times, and we're now ready to move forward on. Further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin, the next matter, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute change orders for the town hall renovation with Milestone Construction Partners in an amount not to exceed $46,239.75. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
There are two change orders. The first one, as you see in the communication, it relates to laminating sections of various walls in the Public Works Department primarily, but also in some bathrooms and corridors to cure some found conditions during the course of demolition. That's $13,896. The other one, $32,343. Concrete flooring throughout the ground floor area. It was decayed, damaged to a point over its 72-year history that it is no longer capable of receiving the carpeting that is planned for that area. So this work will restore that flooring, A, to make it smooth and level enough to accept that carpeting, and B, they say here, lifetime solution. So I like that. So those are the two change order items we have here. We have a motion and a second on that. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris?
Next item, Bill, is to authorize the supervisor to award a contract to Stark Tech Operating Company, the sole source provider of Schneider Electric components to modernize existing Schneider Electric direct digital control systems for the HVAC in the library and the public safety wing of Town Hall in an amount not to exceed $158,641.82. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This is one I know Commissioner of Public Works, Glenn Layton, would like to be here for, but he is fulfilling military reservist duty that was put on hold during the government shutdown, and therefore he is down at Fort Dix tonight in New Jersey. But this is not a direct part of the new town hall project, but enables the library and public safety wings on either side connected to the core of the town hall where the work is going on to connect to the building management system so that the one HVAC building management system will be able to serve all parts of the building with digital controls that are able to regulate temperature in a much more sophisticated way than traditional systems would do. So it's a pretty significant upgrade to those, to the library and to the public safety wings, the police and court areas. But I think together, and particularly the police side, where we've had issues in particular with humidity, right, Chief?
Yes, sir.
This we expect. Over the years, there have been fixes tried. We really hope that this will really help improve those conditions over there. Any further discussion on that? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
One HVAC to rule them all. Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine?
The next matter, we already touched on this a little bit, seeks to convey a portion of property on the Landfill Road to the New York State Department of Transportation for incorporation into the adjacent right-of-way on Browncroft Boulevard for sidewalk construction, and accept payment in the amount of $4,925 and amend the budget as necessary to reflect said revenue. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
I would note that this resolution is subject to permissive referendum under the town law because it does involve albeit another state agency, the acquisition of a small amount of real property from the town of Brighton. We have a motion, and it's been seconded. Any further discussion?
Anything that gets us more sidewalk is just fine by me.
Yeah, exactly. Hearing nothing further, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Nate, the next one is one you touched on.
That's
at the
right.
report.
That's right. The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Brighton Collision for the provision of vehicle collision repair services for the police department according to a fee schedule for the term January 1, 2026 through December 31st, 2026, with the option of 3 annual renewals. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
And pretty self-explanatory. We use them for collision repair. Hopefully, we don't use them much at all, but it's a good price and lower than the contractor that we've been using in the past. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to amend the 2025 budget to create a capital budget for the Chelmsford Lane over Buckland Creek Culvert Project in the amount of $840,000. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This involves a number of several different components and budget amendments. Earl, do you want to just summarize real quickly what we're doing here?
Yeah, we're just setting the budget related to this project as has been estimated to date. If there are any changes in the future, we'll handle those with another amendment.
And this accounts for the funds that we have received through the Bridge New York grant program that we will be using to pay all or substantially all of the cost of the repair of that Chelmsford Lane culvert. I see it says land there in the resolution. That's just a typo. Chelmsford Lane culvert project. We have a motion. It's been seconded, and with that very minor correction. Anything further? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Nate?
Yeah, you got it. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing according to Town Law, Section 202B, to authorize the expenditure of consolidated sewer district funds for the purchase of an excavator in an amount not to exceed $82,000 in the design of Winton Road Pump Station project in an amount not to exceed $131,770 for a total amount of $213,770. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
This is a little more elaborate of a resolution than you usually see because of this section of the town law of the state of New York, Section 202B, that requires additional action to be taken if you, in fact, are expending money for sewer equipment improvements. So this matter sets a public hearing, and we will be holding that public hearing on December 30th here in this room at noon. We got a motion seconded. Anything further? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And another budget amendment.
Yeah,
Nate.
you got it. The next matter seeks to authorize a budget amendment to use interest income revenue for the purchase of certain capital equipment in an amount of $158,000. I move that we approve this motion as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second?
These are items that Earl has recommended in consultation with our Highway and Parks and Public Works to be able to fund these with that excess interest income above budget, so we can get them in and ordered during 2025, so they will be reflected in our final year-end 2025 results. The vehicle lift in particular was something that the Highway Department was their number one ask in the capital improvement plan for 2026. The expectation was this was included in our 2026 CIP, but it is such an important safety and efficiency item for the Highway Department. Really the reason that particular item in particular is being advanced up to 20. But these other things, the fuel island upgrade, the scissor lift, all of these things are important for their respective departments.
Yeah, the mechanics backs thanks us.
We heard that loud and clear when we were over there. We have a motion. It's been seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Robin, the next item, please.
Certainly, the final matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Labella Associates to provide professional planning, land use, zoning, and engineering services at the agreed-upon hourly rates as set forth in the proposal effective January 1, 2026. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the attorney to the town.
Second.
We've discussed bringing in outside planning, land use, zoning, engineering expertise. At a previous meeting, the RFP was prepared. The department's bless you.
Thank you.
Interviewed 3 well-known large planning and engineering firms here in the Rochester area, and it was their unanimous recommendation that the proposal from Labella best met departmental needs. So on that basis, and the expectation that for that reason, it will be more financially efficient to use them, this was that recommendation. And Christine, who seconded that motion?
I did.
I thought so. Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Councilmember Salzman?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor, couple things I want to talk about. I know people sometimes get tired of hearing me talk, but we're almost done with leaf pickup season. That's what they get tired of hearing me talk about. Every meeting this time of year, we talk about leaf pickup and how important it is to put your leaves not in the street, but on your tree lawn or on the lawn if you don't have a sidewalk right next to the street. And we talk about safety for bicyclists, and we talk about drainage issues. But this time of year, we get firsthand reminders of the other reason we ask you not to put the leaves in the street, because when it snows and when our plows come down the street, those leaves are going to get plowed back up into your lawn and make it essentially impossible for the highway crews when they come through to pick those leaves up. So I know it's late. I know it's already snowed. There's probably nothing you can do about it now, but as a reminder, next fall, when you're back out raking your leaves or when your landscaper's raking your leaves, please remember, one more reason you don't want to put the leaves in the street. It's dangerous. It's not consistent with law. Bicyclists, God forbid, children love to play in leaf piles. So for all of those reasons, keep your leaves in the grass, not in the street. Second thing, on Monday, I held a press conference announcing that checks would be going out very, very soon to over 10,000 Brighton residents and small businesses, excuse me, that were part of the CCA, Community Choice Aggregation, Sustainable Energy Program, that Brighton sponsored during 2021 and 2022 for about 18 months before our energy supplier, Icon Energy, which was DBA Source Power. Icon defaulted on their supply contract because they also, with us, because they defaulted on their contract with the NISO, which is the basically the organization that runs the grid in New York, and through them they were getting renewable energy for us. They defaulted. All of us in the program were sent back to RG&E. We lost the benefit of the sustainable 100% renewable electricity. We lost the benefit of a very attractive fixed rate price at 4.29 cents per kilowatt hour. And as a result, very significant savings. During the first 18 months, Brighton residents saved about $1.5 million compared to what the retail price from RG&E would have been on 100% renewable electricity. Based on pricing, which only got more extreme, the price kept going up compared to that fixed price. There was about $1 million in losses, lost savings during those last 6 months. And as a result, the settlement that the town was able to reach, and again, kudos, another shout out tonight to our attorney to the town and his firm for ultimately negotiating that class action settlement for the town on behalf of all of the residents and businesses that participated in that program. The checks started arriving. Our timing was good. The checks started arriving in the mail today at people's homes. For people who were in the program who, for that entire 18 months until it defaulted, they received $40 plus an additional sum based on their usage and therefore the amount of savings they would have received in those final 6 months. Most residents are getting checks between, who were in the whole time, are getting checks between $70 and $200, although some will receive, the larger users will receive up to $400 or even more if you were in the program for the whole time. People who were in the program for only part of that 18-month period, either they opted out or they moved, for example, they will receive a flat $40. As I said, those checks began arriving today. If you have any questions, and we've been fielding questions today, what happens if you moved? What happens if the service was in the name of an individual who has since passed away? Couple things. One, there was an information sheet on the class action settlement. We haven't looked yet because those questions came in just today as to whether those questions are addressed there, but those were received by all of us and are also available on the class action web page. And I don't have that web page address in front of me, but I'm betting that John Mancuso will have it for me in a moment. But you can also contact the Class Action Settlement Administrator, which was Continental Datalogix, Datalogix. Their phone number is 833-215-9285. But John has the...
I do have that information, Supervisor. The website is BrightonIconSettlement.com.
I'm pleased to report that I received my check for $154 and some cents.
Perfect.
Well done, John. Thank you.
Very welcome.
So, yeah, we're very pleased. And we are hopeful because this really moved the needle. CCA is a phenomenal program, and kudos to County Legislator Sue Hughes Smith, who several years before this CCA program started in Brighton, before she was elected to the county legislature, had the folks who administered the first CCA program in New York State, in Westchester County. It was part of a pilot program. It wasn't even part of the Public Service Commission regulations at that point. But they came up, we had a meeting in her living room. We spent a couple of hours with these people, listening to their presentation, answering questions, asking questions that they answered. And the longer they talked, the more it made sense. So I'm hopeful that we're able to, again, now that we've settled this lawsuit, that the checks are going out, that we're going to be able to look again at the opportunity to get back into community choice aggregation. We know the pricing won't be as good because electricity, like so many things these days, have inflated terribly in price. So we're not going to have 4.29 cents a kilowatt hour the way we did then. But what CCA does do, through the opportunity to buy in bulk, is getting a much better price than the retail price you get if you just call up RG&E and say, hey, I want renewable electricity. So hopefully we have something to come on that. The last thing I want to mention tonight relates to Brookside School, where our Parks and Recreation Department and so many of our recreation programs are located. As you probably know, the Talmudic Institute of Upstate New York, they operate the yeshiva on Park Avenue now, purchased that former school from the Brighton Central School District several years ago. Their plan is to renovate the entire building and move the yeshiva there. But they're about to begin the first phase of work out there, and that is renovating what I'll sort of call the northern wing of the building that will provide space that our Parks and Recreation Department can move to, new space once it gets finished. And they will begin work on the rest of the building, including the area where our Parks and Recreation Department are currently located, as they begin to build out their plans for the yeshiva. Work on that, we had a pre-construction meeting earlier this week. Work could begin as early as next week on the interior renovations for our Parks and Recreation Department, and that's the only work that we would see at this point in the project. We want to make sure, and we've been very clear on this all along, that our Parks and Recreation Department's needs are met first, and they will be with this plan. All construction traffic has been directed to use the Winton Road exit, entrance and exit to the property. They are very much aware of the impact that additional traffic has in the Evans Farm neighborhood if people try to get in on Idlewood. So all construction traffic will go off of Winton Road. If any of our Evans Farm residents see construction trucks heading in that way, let us know, and we will make sure it just doesn't happen again. We put out some more information on this work today. If you want to read that, you can look on the town's webpage. You can look on the Recreation Department's Facebook page. And we really are. We're pleased that that work is going to begin moving forward. Matters of the attorney to the town.
No report, Supervisor.
Thank you. Matters of the clerk.
Nothing's here.
Matters of the town board.
Bill, you always get on your horse about the leaves in the street. My horse is the garbage toters in the street. Now that we are plowing, they're a real, not only a hazard, but it means we're not going to plow very, very cleanly on the streets. So it's a common misunderstanding that you should put your toters out in the street, and that makes it easy for waste management. That's not the case. Those arms can lift whether it's in the snowbank or not. But please put them on the other side of the curb on the grass so that the plows could get through.
Thanks.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Good. Any other matters of the board? Robin, I know you have.
Certainly, yeah. You know, coming to the end of my term here, and first of all, I wanted to express what an honor it has been to serve this community for the last 8 years in my role on the town council. And I'm just deeply grateful for that opportunity. I'm also proud of the initiatives that I've led and implemented, including initiating the adoption of gender-neutral language in all town communications, establishing the inclusion, diversity.
And signs.
Yes.
And these
yes,
nameplates.
we did update the nameplates as well. And establishing the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Advisory Board, which focuses on the needs of Brighton's increasingly diverse community. Championing that community choice aggregation program, which enabled the town to procure energy services on behalf of its residents, lowering prices and aspiring towards 100% renewable sourcing. Maintaining Brighton's most popular recycling programs, both the semi-annual electronics recycling program and the secure document shredding event, and the annual Clean Sweep program, despite significant changes in the recycling landscape over the years, which made it more difficult, quite frankly, to hold those programs. And as liaison to the Sustainability Oversight Committee, helping the town procure hundreds of thousands of dollars in grant funding from NYSERDA and developing a plan to upgrade every town building to be more climate resilient or even carbon neutral. And of course, as the chair of the Community Services Committee, I had the privilege of serving the town's as the town's primary point of contact for hundreds of constituents over the years. And many policies enacted by the town board in recent years originated as proposals to that committee, including most recently the town's Complete Streets policy that reaffirms and undergirds the town's approach to inclusive and accessible infrastructure improvement, and the town's memorializing resolution reaffirming Brighton as an inclusive and welcoming municipality that is and will continue to be a safe haven to all, regardless of protected class status. Even before I joined the town board, I had devoted my entire adult life to advocating for grassroots involvement and political engagement. As a member of the Brighton Town Council, much of my role has been to offer a fresh and too often overlooked perspective as a Black woman and the daughter of immigrants, and to ensure that traditionally marginalized members of our community are given voice and included as stakeholders to the town's decision-making processes. As I've said before, it has been hard to examine truths in a community like Brighton that ultimately has a culture of exceptionalism, and to really hold that mirror up to expose some of our hypocrisies and challenges. But this is a necessary practice to achieve greater equity and justice in our community. I'm saddened that as the only member of the town board committed to anti-racism, and as the longest-serving African American, and only the second in this town's history, I've been ostracized and driven out. To those who supported me amidst those attacks, I thank you. You know who you are. And to those who stood by as I was attacked, belittled, and marginalized, you also know who you are. In my role as a servant leader, I'm proud to have focused on outcomes and the work. That I no longer sit on the dais will not deter me from pursuing the dignity and the justice that I believe all members of this community deserve. Thank you to all of you who continue to support me. This elected role is certainly not the end of my engagement with this community, and I look forward to working with a coalition of the willing to ensure better days and stronger community for for all of us. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Robin, thank you for your service. It's appreciated. Any other matters of the town board? Then, thank you again, as always, to our interpreters. Our next meeting will be the final meeting of 2025. It will be held on Wednesday, December 30th at noon. Please note that time change. It's not at 7 o'clock. It will be at noon, right here in this room. Wish you all of the happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, Harizah Kwanzaa, and best wishes to all of you and your families in this very, very busy season. Can I have a motion? Oh,
Wednesday, December 30?
Tuesday, December.
Tuesday, I'm sorry.
December 30th.
Tuesday, December
Yes.
30th. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
Bill, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Werner,
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt,
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado,
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller.
Aye.
Will you be here on the 30th?
I was going to say, whenever it is.